Okay, somebody asked me if these outfits would fit the American girls, and yeah, this is Samantha, and I think she's probably one of the biggest American girls, and the outfit fits her at 80%. One thing I did notice that I found out is they have wider toe area here, so you might want to, when you're making shoes and sandals, you might want to trim the soles down a little bit because they are just a little bit too wide for these American girls. Another thing is you might want to, for Samantha, you might want to add that full inch here on the sleeve. She's like a linebacker, this girl. She's got some hefty shoulders on her. So anyway, that's the jacket on Samantha, and it still looks cute on her too, and that's at 80%. So you might want to just stick with 80%, or I wouldn't go anything higher than let me see if she's going to fall over. I wouldn't go anything higher on Samantha than 90% on the patterns. I think then you're asking for you know, trouble. I mean, or else it's going to just look baggy on her, and I don't think you want that. Okay, so anyway, that's the first Addy's jacket I made, or Addy's coat, Addy's winter coat, and that is American Girl Samantha. Okay. Okay, we're in the home stretch on this jacket. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our turn-unders, that was our inch turn-unders, and we're just going to put a seam in it. So line it up so it's even, and we're just going to sew it down. You're going to see these stitches, so you want to be neat. So just pin it. Because this is fleece, you do not have to finish off your edge. It's not going to fray, it's not going to do anything. So let's just, I was practicing buttonholes, so let me take my buttonholer off. Okay, so we are going to do a regular stitch, a quarter of an inch, and we're just going to sew from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to sew and use that as my sewing line. So how I want to do that, I'm going to put my needle position all the way to the left, and that way I'm going to get close to the edge of where the turning is. We're going to sew all the way up to the collar, but we're not going to sew onto the collar. We're going to stop where the seam is. Just do a couple back stitches. Okay. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so we sewed all the way up to that point where the collar is, and we just made a seam. That's all we did. We just sewed those down so they would stay flat when we attach our buttons and our buttonholes. Okay, so there's side one done. Now I'm going to do side two. Make sure that before you sew, that you have your flaps all the way up. So if you need to put something in there and push that up so it's completely square on the top. Okay, so that was number 1. Now we're going to do number 2. Same thing. We're just going to turn it to make it even. Okay, so now I'm going to sew from the top down to the bottom. Okay, I'm going to line that up. Do a couple back stitches, and I'm just going to sew. So now we pretty much got the jacket done, except now we have to decide if we want buttons, if we want Velcro, if we want snaps, if we just want to put a belt around this and not even worry about closing it. You can do those fancy, I don't know what they're called, but you know, they go from side to side on the old-fashioned jackets. I forget what they're called. I'll look it up and see what that is. So okay, so make your decision: Velcro, snaps, buttons, whatever you want to do. And then I'm going to do the buttons and the buttonholes. So I'm going to put my buttonhole, get my machine ready to do buttonholes, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to put on buttonholes. If you notice, I have a terrible habit of putting the buttonholes in on the wrong side. On women's clothing, the buttonhole is always supposed to be on the right. So if you turn this around, you can clearly see that the buttonholes are on the left. So I'm going to try and do it right on this jacket, but you know, it's not a big deal. But if you want to be specifically right about clothes, the buttonhole on women's clothes are always on the right. Buttons left, buttonholes right. Okay, so if that's the case, then we need to do our buttonholes. So turn your fabric around and then know that this is the right. So this is the side that our buttonholes need to go into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my first buttonhole here. Okay, and then I'm going to decide where I want my second and my third after I get my first buttonhole in. So buttonholes always start from the top and work down. So we're going to insert our jacket into the machine. I'm going to pick my buttonhole position. My choice for buttonholes is number 30 on my machine. So pick which buttonhole you like. Make sure you have your button in the back of your buttonhole device, or your buttonhole maker, and put your fabric in. I like to line my jacket up against that one edge. You see where the jacket is right here? Well, let me get my button in the right position. I'm going to line it up with those crosshairs. I'm going to line the jacket itself up with the edge of the buttonhole device, buttonhole foot. Okay, I think I'm ready to go. I like that position. I'm going to take my pin out. I'm going to pull my bar down and I'm going to insert it between my two plastic buttonhole sizers. I'm going to make sure this is flat, this is straight. I have plenty of thread. I'm in the right position. My pressure foot is in the lower position, so I'm ready to sew. So I'm just going to let it go. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention was you should always make sure you have plenty of thread in your bobbin, because there's nothing worse than getting halfway through a buttonhole and finding out that you don't have enough thread to finish your buttonhole, because then you got to do it manually, and it's really hard to get the correct positioning and the correct width of your stitches and everything else. Okay, so buttonhole number 1 is in. Let me see how much thread I've got. Okay, I've got plenty. So now I'm going to decide what I want for how much space I want between those two buttonholes. So I'm just going to go down and I don't know, not even a quarter of an inch from the looks of it. Let's see what it looks like. I'm going to go down between the two buttons. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch seems to be right. I did more on the other one. Maybe I'll go further since I'm only putting in 3 buttons. So we're not following that. We're just doing our own thing. So I'm going to go maybe I'll go 1/2 an inch between. Yeah, okay, why not? We'll do 1/2 an inch between buttons on this jacket. So let's go ahead and put this back in the machine and line up that pin with your crosshairs. You're going to have the red and the green crosshairs, so you're going to want to line those up so you can see that. If it's easier for you to make a mark with like a piece of chalk or something, you can do that. So let's pull our pin out and let's do number 2. Okay, so that's buttonhole 2 in. I'm going to either do 2 more or 3 more. So, one more or 2 more. So let me see if I can find that extra button, because I might want another button in here. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of them because it's like watching paint dry. So, okay, so I'm going to do this, cut them open, and put the pins in. Put my buttons in on the other side, sew them up, and then we'll put the fur on the bottom, and our jacket is pretty much done. And then we'll move on to our beret. Okay, I'll be back.